This is the Rumor Report.
I mean, I guess we on the Breakfast Club. This is where the tea spills, right?
Right. All right, now let's start off with Katt Williams. Katt Williams sat down with Shannon Sharpe on Club Shay Shay. It was 2 hours and 45 minutes long, and I think Katt Williams came at damn near everybody. And when I mean everybody, I mean everybody. Well, he started off...
His peers from his
well, not just his
class.
peers. Not just his peers.
Who else?
He went at rappers. Well, we'll get into some of it. First, he started with Cedric the Entertainer, saying that Cedric the Entertainer stole his jokes.
1998, I'm doing this joke. It's on Comic View. Cedric comes to the Comedy Store. He watches me in the audience. He comes backstage. He tells me what a great job I did and how much he loves the joke. 2 years later, he's doing that as his last joke on the Kings of Comedy. And he's doing it verbatim. He's just changed my car into a spaceship. Him and Steve had already apologized for me, so I gave him a pass for a decade. Why would you sit here and be like, I saw Katt 30 times. I would have bust Cedric's stomach. There was nothing that would have kept me from one of these in that patch right there. Like, are you kidding me? Why would you downplay me like that?
I don't know if Cedric stole the joke or not, but stealing jokes is very common, and comedians calling out other comedians for stealing jokes is very common.
Well, Cedric said he didn't steal that joke. He said he did that years before he even knew who Katt Williams was. Well, Katt Williams also spoke about Steve Harvey.
The same Steve that went to go watch Mark Curry do his whole sitcom and then stole everything Mark Curry had. Now Steve got a sitcom where he the principal and he wear a suit and then he gets this high top fade, making all black men think he got the best lineup in the business, and it's a man unit. Then you ask him, why you not a movie star? I didn't want to be a movie star. This the same Negro that hated on Bernie with this same thing. I didn't want to be a movie star. No, you couldn't be a movie star. There are 30,000 new scripts in Hollywood every year. Not one of them asks for a country bumpkin black dude that can't talk good over KB and look like Mr. Potato Head. There ain't none. You would have to have range.
Damn.
I mean, that's kind of, I understand what Katt is trying to say, but I mean, didn't Steve, hasn't he defeated that? Because he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah. So it's clearly somebody like the country bumpkin.
Well, a lot of people do.
Right.
He has a lot of shows out there right now.
The biggest thing that, what he talked about just now was the man unit.
What the hell's a man unit?
With the hair, man, the flat top. Was the flat top removable?
Was it fake?
I don't know. I never thought about it.
You could have just attach it on.
I never thought about
how
it.
Will it?
Did they have those type of units in the 90s?
I don't know.
I don't know.
How well do you think that flat top would have stayed on in
Alaska Airlines?
You think that flat top would have stayed on? All right.
Dropping the clues bombs for Steve Harvey, man.
Absolutely. What up? Now he also talks about Kevin Hart.
In 15 years in Hollywood, no one in Hollywood has a memory of going to a sold-out Kevin Hart show.
I do.
There being a line for him ever getting a standing ovation at any comedy club. He already had his deals when he got here. Have we heard of a comedian that came to L.A. and in his first year in L.A. he had his own sitcom on network television and had his own movie called Soul Plane that he was leading? No, we've never heard of that before that person or since that person. What do you think a plant is? Maybe people don't understand the definitions of these words. He just did his documentary with Chris Rock where he shows you that his whole upbringing in comedy was on the East Coast.
Yeah, it was.
So how simultaneously was he here in Los Angeles doing the same thing?
I talked about that on Brilliant Idiots last week, but man, we all witnessed Kevin Hart's come up. You know what I mean? Even when he got Soul Plane and Soul Plane flopped, when he got the NBC sitcom and the NBC sitcom flopped, he was back in those comedy clubs, putting in the work. And like one thing that I always said that I loved that Kevin did, everybody who would come to his show, whether it was 10 people, 100 people, 200 people, he would collect their emails. And he started sending out a newsletter. And that newsletter is what helped him to continue to grow his audience even more, to the point where we watched him here in New York City sell out Carolines 12 times.
Yeah, I think that's why we always say Kev is a friend to the room. He's a real friend to the room because we actually see him start from the beginning and do Carolines and do these other smaller clubs, and we seen his motion. We've seen it grow into who he is, right? What he is now. So we've actually seen it. We've seen it with him. I've seen it with Donnell Rawlins. I've seen it with Little Duval. Absolutely. I've seen it with so many different comedians that we've actually seen from the ground up. And
Soul Playing wasn't Kev's first movie. Like, you got movies like Paper Soldiers, you got Death of a Dynasty.
Soldiers,
Like, Dame Dash was seeing Kevin Hart in those comedy clubs back in the day and putting Kevin in movies way before Soul Playing, at least a couple of years before Soul Playing.
That's right. So if you're just joining us, we're talking about Katt Williams. We're in the rumors, of course. He was on Shannon Sharp's show, Club Shay Shay, and he just was going at everybody, including Ludacris.
Are you related to Luda?
No, so there was a crossroads where we were both invited to an Illuminati thing, and it had to be one or the other of us, and decisions had to be made. So it was both of us, we were equal. One of us had to cut off all their hair and couldn't do the sideburn thing no more with the points. And the next person, they said, was going to get $200 million because they were going to pay him $10 million a movie to do 20 movies. And that's how the conversation happened. One of those persons turned out to be Ludacris, and the other person turned out to be Katt Williams. Now, one person ended up with a light-skinned, ugly-faced wife that's never done it. Remember I told you that if I say that, it applied to 7 people? Yes. It's part of what they give you.
Here's the thing. Katt Williams won with this interview, all right? Because Shannon Sharp won with this interview. Drop one of Clues bombs for both of them. Club Shay said, right? And I think Katt's going on tour, the Dark Matters tour. I think tickets are on sale now. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. If you look at this interview as just entertainment, fine. It was clearly very entertaining. But for those who hear stories like the Ludacris story or listen to the industry plant stuff, if you're looking at this interview as something more, because 2024 is the year of exposure, and it's the year of truth-telling about the industry and the year of telling truth about celebrity, well, let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. When it comes to the industry, when it comes to Hollywood, when it comes to, calling out a system, when are y'all gonna start calling out the people who really control things? Amen. When are y'all gonna start, when y'all gonna start calling out folks with the real power? Because contrary to the nigga net's popular belief, the real power isn't coming from any of those Negroes Katt was talking about. So when are folks gonna start calling out the white people who are in these positions of power, these real positions of power? I don't believe in any of that industry plant stuff, but if there are industry plants, how come we always go after the plant and not the planters? If folks is out here putting black people in dresses or making folks do sexual favors in return for roles or whatever, why are we not calling those executives out? The people who finance the projects, the studio heads, the people who finance these scripts. How come we not calling them out? Because I know they not black. And for some reason, it's just very easy for us to always go at each other. But to me, that's a form of victim blaming. Call out the people with the real power. Mm-hmm. I know he called out Harvey Weinstein, but Harvey's in prison. You know what I mean? But there's still a whole system out here and a whole bunch of executives who still moving foul, and they not black. When they gonna start getting called out? Because once again, not one of those Negroes Katt was talking about got any real power.
Yeah, he also calls out so many different people, Jonathan Majors, Diddy, and Ye. But also, after the end of it, people were giving Shannon Sharp a little flack, so he said that it just wasn't about that. He's a conversationalist.
Right. And what's disappointing to me, because there are people that do what you and I do, that had so much to say. And it's only because of jealousy. Because I guarantee you, if Katt was on their podcast and did exactly what he did on my podcast, they would have never said what they're saying. And what I always try to do is not talk over the guests. They come on, okay, tell your side, tell your story. When was the time that I've cut somebody off? Now you want me to cut him off. Man, but he going in, okay?
I mean, that's the point of having that space where you can tell your truth. That's the whole point.
I mean, how can you call Katt out if you don't know what's true and what's not true? Like, how do you fact check someone's version of events? Like, Shannon's absolutely right. Like, you can't fact check someone's versions of events if you don't know, if what he's saying is true or not. Yeah. Like, only thing I could have pushed back on from the clips I heard is what he said about Kev, in regards to Kev not selling on the shows. But other than that, how do you push back if you wasn't there?
No, talking about that man's wife, could have pushed back on that.
Well, that's just you saying, hey, don't talk about the man's wife.
Yeah, but
that's not a fact check.
Yeah, true.
All I'm simply saying is when we gonna start calling out the white people who are in these positions of power? We always take a name at each other. But once again, I don't believe in the industry plant stuff. But if there are industry plants, how come we always go after the plant and not the planters?
All right.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, that is your rumor report. Now, when we come back, we got front page news. Cezlin Figueroa will be joining us in the Breakfast Club. We back off vacation. We back. We live. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.
Breakfast Club.